6:45 a.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news, edited by Danushka Madavela and read by Mario Vijayavardhana. The headlines. The President vows to facilitate a meeting with the IMF for clarification of doubts or alternative proposals. The Sri Lanka Parliament prorogued. 4 billion rupees allocated for maize cultivation in the Yala season this year. The remains of the late State Minister Sanath Nishantha taken to Puttalama. The driver of late Sanath Nishantha arrested and remanded. A helpline introduced for drug-dependent individuals seeking rehabilitation. In foreign news, the ICJ says Israel must prevent a genocide in Gaza. President Ranil Wickremesinghe extended an invitation to all the political party leaders in Parliament to engage in discussions with the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund on the implementation of the agreement with the IMF. Emphasizing the importance of unity in leading the country to success, he highlighted that withdrawing from the agreement would jeopardize the trust in Sri Lanka's economy. The President stressed that the nation's economy suffered due to the politics of promises, emphasizing the need for all political parties to formulate comprehensive plans for the country's development when gearing up for an election. President Ranil Wickremesinghe made these remarks during the International Customs Day celebrations at the Colombo Customs Headquarters yesterday. The President expressed gratitude to all members of the Customs Department for their contributions to the customs revenue in 2023. Highlighting customs tax, VAT and income tax as the three primary sources of income globally, the President stressed the importance of enhancing the efficiency of the customs services to boost the country's revenue. He further noted that upcoming government legislation and modernization initiatives will overhaul all public revenue-generating institutions. President Ranil Wickremesinghe delivered 6 certificates of merit to customs officials for rendering exceptional services to international customs. The Director General of Sri Lanka Customs, Mr. Sarath Nonis, presented the strategic plan for 2024 to President Wickremesinghe and the State Minister of Finance, Mr. Ranjit Simbalapitiya. Additionally, a memento was presented to the President by the Director General of the Sri Lanka Customs. The Sri Lanka Parliament has been prorogued with effect from last midnight until the 7th of February. This marks the closure of the 4th session of the 9th Parliament. The prorogation was communicated in a proclamation published in the Government Gazette by the President's Secretary Saman Ekanayake. The extraordinary gazette was issued by virtue of the powers vested in the President by Article 70 of the Constitution. Accordingly, the next parliamentary session is scheduled to commence at 10:30 a.m. on the 7th of February. When a new session kicks off, the President has the opportunity to ceremonially declare open the Parliament and preside over to present the government's policy statement. In the past, it was known as the throne speech and was presented by the Governor. According to current practices, it is neither debated nor put to vote. The Small-Scale Agri-Entrepreneurship Participation Programme has taken steps to allocate an amount of 4 billion rupees for maize cultivation in the 2024 Yala season. The project spent 10 billion rupees to cultivate 40,000 acres of maize in the 2023 Maha season. Accordingly, steps were taken to provide all the necessary financial allocations for maize cultivation, maize seeds, fertilizers and land preparation costs to the farmers on a non-recovery basis. Accordingly, steps have been taken to provide these facilities to the farmers of Anuradhapura, Hambantota, Badulla, Ampara and Monragala for growing maize. The Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industries, Mahinda Amaraveer, observed the cultivation of maize in the Kasagala area recently. 5,000 acres of maize was cultivated in the Hambantota district during the last Maha season on the basis of concessions provided by the Small-Scale Agri-Entrepreneurship Programme. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The driver of the late State Minister Sanath Nishantha, injured in the fatal crash, has been remanded and in custody until the 5th of February by the Valisara Magistrates Court. The driver, Prabhatiranga, has reportedly given a statement to the police describing overtaking a car from the left and hitting a container truck while rushing to Colombo. State Minister Nishantha and his security guard, Police Constable Anuradha Jayakodi, tragically died in the accident on Thursday, the 25th of January. In a tribute, Constable Jayakodi has been posthumously promoted to the rank of Sergeant. Meanwhile, the remains of the late State Minister, son of Nishantha, has been taken to his private residence in the Arachikattuva area of Puttalama last evening. Meanwhile, many politicians representing both the ruling party and the opposition, including President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, former Presidents Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Mahinda Rajapaksa, paid their final respects to the late State Minister at the Jayaratne funeral parlour in Borella last night and this morning, and offered their condolences to the bereaved family members. The final rites of the late State Minister, son of Nishantha, are scheduled to be performed tomorrow in the Arachikattuva area. In a significant stride towards combating drug addiction and aiding those in need, a media briefing was held recently in Colombo to announce the launch of the 1927 helpline designed to serve as a crucial lifeline for drug-dependent individuals seeking rehabilitation. The event was chaired by the Commander of the Navy Vice Admiral Priyantha Pereira, who is also the chairman of the task force to combat the use of poisonous and dangerous drugs. This task force has been established with the aim of managing the entry and dissemination of harmful and toxic substances.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda.
Venerable Muruthettuve Anandathera, the Chancellor of the University of Colombo and the Chief Sangha Leader of the Western Province and the President of the Public Service United Nurses Association, conveyed that President Ranil Wickremesinghe enjoys the support of the Mahasangha in promoting the Sambuddha Sasana order and benefiting the people of the country. During a ceremony to mark the birth anniversary of Venerable Muruthettuve Anandathera yesterday at the Narayanpeta Sri Abhayarama Purana Viharaya, he urged the President to devise a program safeguarding the 5 virtues policy within the country. Emphasizing that certain actions of the Mahasangha are causing distress among true Buddhists, he called for urgent amendments to the Sasana with the Mahasangha's considerations to alleviate this situation.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Veda.
This is Watchlight.
The central bank asserted this week that the merchant fees, which are at most times conveniently passed on to the customer, should not be borne by the customer. As per agreements inked between banks and vendors, the fee must be absorbed by the merchant himself. Speaking on the issue, the central bank's senior deputy governor Yvette Fernando said they have made aware the merchants who should bear the merchant fee, which often gets added to the cost of the purchase, and has made the banks aware too to pass on the message and to ensure that this does not recur.
Coming up, world news.
The ICJ says the Israelis must prevent a genocide in Gaza. An oil tanker on fire after Houthi missile attack, firm says. Trump ordered to pay $3 million in damages in defamation trial. The UN's top court has ordered Israel to take all measures to prevent genocidal acts in Gaza, but stopped short of telling it to halt the war. The highly anticipated hearing was part of a controversial case brought by South Africa. South Africa had asked the court to order Israel to stop military action straight away pending a decision on whether Israel has committed genocide. Israel has vehemently rejected the accusation as wholly unfounded. Friday's hearing at the International Court of Justice at The Hague was the first time the judges have issued a ruling as a part of the case which began 2 weeks ago. A verdict on the central allegation of genocide is expected to take much longer, possibly years. Although the court did not call for a halt to Israel's military action, as South Africa had asked it to do, it is being interpreted as a victory for those who support South Africa's case. An oil tanker is on fire in the Gulf of Aden, its operators say, after Houthis said they hit it with a missile. The movement said it had targeted the Malian Luanda on Friday evening. Operator Trafigura told the BBC the strike caused a fire in one of the ship's cargo tanks and firefighting equipment was being used to contain it. US officials told the BBC's US partner CBS a tanker was hit by an anti-ship ballistic missile and a naval ship was responding to its distress signal. There were no injuries reported, the US officials said. It is the latest attack on commercial shipping by the Houthis in and around the Red Sea. The UK Maritime Trade Operation said that the incident happened 60 nautical miles southeast of Aden. Donald Trump has been ordered to pay a total of $83.3 million for defaming the writer E. Jean Carroll while he was president. The jury in his defamation trial said he must pay $18.3 million in compensation damages for emotional reputational harm and $65 million in punitive damages. Kyle called it a huge defeat for every bully who has tried to keep a woman down. Trump called the outcome absolutely ridiculous. The former president was in court on Friday for closing arguments but was not in the room when the verdict was read out. A jury in a previous civil fraud trial found Carroll was sexually abused by Trump in the 1990s, but this case was about comments he made in 2019 while he was president. And now the main points of the World News segment once again. The ICJ says Israel must prevent genocide in Gaza. An oil tanker on fire after Houthi missile attack, firm says. Trump ordered to pay $3 million in damages in defamation trial.
Development news.
Litro Gas Company's profits for 2023 totaling 1.5 billion rupees was handed over to the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation, the company's parent entity, during a ceremony held at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday. Litro Gas Company's chairman Mujita Peiris presented the cheque to the President's senior advisor on national security and the Chief of Presidential Staff Sagala Rathnayaka.
Moving on with sports news.
Nathan Ake's late goal gave Manchester City their first victory in 6 visits at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at a place in the FA Cup 5th round. City looked likely to have to settle a replay after missing a succession of chances before Ake scored their first goal at the stadium after 5 successive defeats with 2 minutes left as Spurs keeper Guglielmo Vicario failed to hold Kevin De Bruyne's corner under pressure from Ruben Diaz. It was a better blow to Spurs after defiant rearguard action, but just reward for City, who had been the better side only to miss the opportunities that had come their way before Ake bundled home from close range.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Itru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Shares in Tesla slumped by more than 12% on Thursday after it warned its sales growth would be weaker this year than in 2023. That wiped around $80 billion off the company's stock market value. The electric car maker, which is led by multi-billionaire Elon Musk, said its sales growth may be notably lower in 2024 despite cutting prices. Tesla's annual earnings, which were announced on Wednesday, also came in below Wall Street expectations.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Itru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And now, in economic news, the State Minister of Irrigation, Shashendra Rajapaksa, has outlined ambitious plans to increase the country's electricity generation and food production in 2024. Speaking at a press briefing held at the Presidential Media Centre on the theme Collective Path to a Stable Country yesterday, State Minister Rajapaksa announced that the Umaoya project is expected to add 120 megawatts of electricity to the national grid by the 15th of February. This marks a significant step towards improving Sri Lanka's energy security. The State Minister also revealed plans to utilise 31 identified reservoirs for floating solar power plants with the potential to generate an additional 3,077 megawatts of electricity. This innovative approach leverages existing infrastructure and resources to address the country's growing energy needs.
Weather report.
Rainy weather conditions can be expected over the island from today. Several spells of showers will occur in the northern, north-central, eastern and Nuwara provinces. There is a possibility of ground frost at some places in the Nuwara area district during the early hours of the morning. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the central, Sabargamu and the western provinces and in the Gala and Mathura districts after 2 p.m. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central, Sabargamu, western and Nuwara provinces and in the Gala and Mathura districts during the morning. That was with the report, and now the headlines of this news broadcast once again. The President vows to facilitate meeting with the IMF for clarification of doubts or alternative proposals. The Sri Lanka Parliament prorogued. 4 billion rupees allocated for maize cultivation in the Yalla season this year. The remains of late State Minister Sanat Nishanta taken to Puttalama. The driver of late Sanat Nishanta arrested and remanded. a helpline introduced for drug-dependent individuals seeking rehabilitation. In foreign news, the ICJ says Israel must prevent genocide in Gaza. That concludes this news broadcast, and now it's over to Abhishek on the other side to keep you in great company this Saturday morning. After a long time, Abhishek, hope you are having a wonderful Saturday morning with our dear listeners out there.